I discovered my husband was trying to steal our entire life while I was 7,000 miles from home, working in the desert. Not through a phone call. Not through a fight. Through a forwarded email I was never supposed to see. And what he didn't know was that I had been preparing for something like this my entire life. My name is Sasha. I'm 38 years old, and this is the story of how my husband tried to rob me blind while I was overseas, and how I made sure he lost everything instead. The email that changed everything. It was 2:14 in the morning in northern Jordan when my laptop pinged with a new message. I was in my bunk at the humanitarian compound where I worked as a logistics officer, about 40 kilometers from the Syrian border. The subject line read, "Proceeding as discussed." I assumed it was work. Late-night emails were normal in my line of work. Time zones don't respect sleep, and emergencies don't wait for convenient hours. I opened it expecting a supply chain issue, maybe a customs delay, perhaps a security briefing about the border situation. Then I saw my husband's name. Marcus. The email wasn't sent to me. It was sent about me. It was a forwarded conversation between Marcus and someone named Claire Richardson, and they were discussing in clinical detail how to finalize the sale of my house, transfer my assets, and divide up my money. The email referenced Sasha's absence, like I was some obstacle they had successfully removed, like I was a problem they'd solved. There were attachments labeled Property Transfer Draft and Asset Allocation Summary. Professional documents. Legal language. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. This was planned. I sat there on my bunk, laptop balanced on my knees, generator humming outside, desert wind pushing sand against the corrugated metal walls. I read through 12 years of marriage being reduced to a financial transaction checklist. Here's what you need to understand about me. I work in crisis zones. War zones. Places where one wrong decision, one emotional reaction, one moment of panic can cost lives. So I've learned not to react emotionally in high-stress situations. I observe. I assess. I plan. I execute. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my laptop across the room or punch the wall or do any of the dramatic things people do in movies when their world falls apart. I closed my laptop carefully, tied my boots, splashed cold water on my face, and went to my morning briefing like nothing had happened. But inside, my mind was already working. Already planning. Already 3 steps ahead. How we got here. The beginning. Let me back up and tell you how this all started, because the warning signs were there from the beginning. I just didn't recognize them yet. Marcus and I met 13 years ago at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. I was getting my master's in international development and crisis management. He was studying public policy with a focus on media and communications. Marcus was the golden boy of our program. Confident, charismatic, well-spoken, the kind of guy professors remembered years after class ended. Everyone wanted to be around him. He had that magnetic personality that just drew people in like gravity. He'd walk into a room and somehow become the center of it without even trying. I was different. Quiet, methodical, always prepared, always early. I sat in the second row, took detailed notes in color-coded systems, and only spoke when I had something substantive to contribute. I liked data and research. He liked attention and applause. At first we balanced each other perfectly. He brought spontaneity and social connection into my structured world. I brought calm and practical thinking into his sometimes chaotic approach to deadlines and responsibilities. We studied together at the library until they kicked us out at closing. We shared cheap meals from food trucks on campus. We talked about changing the world, about doing work that mattered, about building something meaningful. He wanted recognition, awards, a career that would make him visible and influential. He talked about TED Talks and book deals and advisory positions. I wanted purpose. I wanted to help people in tangible ways. I wanted to coordinate resources so families didn't starve, so medical supplies reached clinics, so water systems kept running in refugee camps. Different goals, but they seemed compatible at the time. We got married 2 years after graduation. It was a small ceremony at a botanical garden in Maryland. Just family and close friends. Maybe 40 people total. Marcus wanted something bigger, more elaborate, more Instagram-worthy. He talked about destination weddings and professional photographers and guest lists in the hundreds. But I convinced him we should save money for our future. That we should be practical. That a small meaningful ceremony was better than going into debt for one day. He agreed, but I remember seeing disappointment flash across his face when I suggested it. Like I'd taken something away from him. Looking back now, I think that was the first crack. The first sign that what I wanted and what he wanted were fundamentally different. That maybe we were building toward different futures. The early years. The first 3 years of our marriage were good. Or at least, they seemed good on the surface. Marcus got a job at a non-profit advocacy organization in DC. Mid-level position, decent salary, good benefits. He worked on campaigns, wrote policy briefs, attended conferences. He was good at networking, at making connections, at being visible. I worked as a logistics coordinator for an international development firm. Less glamorous than his work, but I loved it. I solved puzzles. I figured out how to move supplies from point A to point B in places where infrastructure barely existed. I was good at seeing systems, understanding constraints, finding solutions. We had a nice apartment in Arlington. We had friends. We had routines. Friday dinners out, Sunday morning farmers market runs, occasional trips to visit family. But there were small things that bothered me. Nothing I could quite put my finger on at first. Marcus always needed to be the one telling stories at dinner parties. If I started talking about my work, he'd somehow redirect the conversation back to himself within minutes. He posted constantly on social media about his work, his achievements, his thoughts on current events. But he rarely posted about us, about our relationship, unless it was to show how supportive he was of me. Like I was a prop to demonstrate his character. When I got recognition at work, he'd congratulate me, but there was something hollow about it. Something performative. And he'd usually follow it with a story about his own recent success, like he needed to balance the scales. Again, nothing dramatic. Just small things. Things I told myself I was overthinking. The deployments begin. 3 years into our marriage, I accepted my first overseas posting. 6 months in South Sudan, coordinating supply deliveries to refugee camps in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. It was an incredible opportunity. Difficult, dangerous even, but exactly the kind of work I'd trained for. The kind of work that actually saved lives. Marcus's reaction was interesting. In public, he was amazing. He posted photos of us at Dulles International Airport. Big smile, arm around my shoulders, both of us looking at the camera. The captions were perfect. So proud of my wife. Not everyone has the strength to serve like this. 6 months apart will be hard, but some things are bigger than us. Love you, Sasha. The post got hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments praising him for being so supportive. I believed every word. But in private, the conversation was different. The night before I left, after we'd finished packing, after we'd gone over all the logistics, Marcus sat on our bed and said something that stuck with me. I guess you're really doing this. Not I'm proud of you, or I'll miss you, or be safe. Just, I guess you're really doing this. Like I was making a choice that affected him more than it affected me. I was too excited about the opportunity to fully process it at the time. The 6 months in South Sudan were exactly as hard as I'd expected. The heat was oppressive. The infrastructure was barely functional. The needs were overwhelming. But I was good at it. I coordinated convoys, managed inventory systems, built relationships with local partners. I made sure supplies got where they needed to go. Marcus and I talked every few days when internet was available. The conversations were warm, supportive. He asked about my work. I asked about his job. We made plans for my return. Talked about taking a trip somewhere, maybe the Oregon coast, somewhere we could just rest and reconnect. When I came home after 6 months, things seemed fine at first. Marcus had kept our apartment tidy. He cooked my favorite pasta dish on my first night back. We talked and laughed and fell back into familiar patterns. But over the following weeks, I started noticing things. He'd rearranged furniture without asking me. Given away some of my books to make room for his expanding collection. Changed our streaming service subscriptions without consulting me. Small things, but they added up to a feeling that the apartment had become his space, not our space. He talked constantly about his friends' activities while I'd been gone. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. Dinners and events and conversations I'd missed. He'd say things like, "Oh, you wouldn't get it. You weren't there when I asked for context." It felt like he'd built a life without me, and my return was an inconvenience more than a celebration. The second deployment. When I accepted a second posting, this time to Jordan for a year with potential extensions, Marcus's response was more measured than before. We were having dinner at our kitchen table when I told him. I'd made his favorite meal, opened a nice bottle of wine, tried to create the right atmosphere. I've been offered a position in Jordan, I said. Logistics officer for a major humanitarian organization. It's a significant step up in responsibility and experience. Marcus put down his fork slowly. How long? A year initially. Possibly longer depending on how things go. A year. He said it flat, no inflection. It's an incredible opportunity, Marcus. The experience I'd gain, the connections I'd make, it would set us up for so many possibilities down the road. If that's what you need to do, he said. Not, I'll miss you but I understand. Not, I'm proud of you. Not, let's talk about how we'll make this work. Just, if that's what you need to do. I should have pushed harder on that moment. Should have asked what he meant. Should have unpacked the resentment I could hear underneath those words. But I didn't. I was too focused on the opportunity, on the career implications, on the good I could do. So I went. The slow deterioration. The changes in our relationship happened gradually over my first year in Jordan, like sand accumulating in corners. You don't notice it day by day, but suddenly it's everywhere and you can't remember when it started. Phone calls got shorter. What used to be hour-long conversations about our days, our thoughts, our feelings, became 20-minute check-ins about logistics. Then 10-minute updates. Then 5-minute, just touching base calls where we'd both be distracted, both be somewhere else mentally. The warmth in his voice cooled to something more neutral. More transactional. Like we were colleagues updating each other on project status rather than spouses who missed each other. Text messages took longer to get responses. I'd send a message in the morning my time, and he wouldn't respond until the next day. Sometimes messages just disappeared into the void, never acknowledged at all. When I asked about it, he'd say he was busy. That he had things going on too. That I couldn't expect him to be available all the time just because I had a few minutes between meetings. Which was fair, I guess. But it felt like more than that. It felt like withdrawal. When I came home on leave after my first 6-month rotation in Jordan, Marcus was different. Distracted. Restless. Always on his phone. Always checking messages, scrolling through feeds, responding to notifications. I'd suggest we go out to dinner, and he'd say he already had plans with friends. I'd propose a weekend trip somewhere nearby, and he'd say he had commitments he couldn't cancel. He made plans with other people on evenings I thought we'd spend together. When I asked about it, he snapped. I have a life too, Sasha. I can't just drop everything because you're in town for a few weeks. You're gone 11 months of the year. You don't get to waltz back in and expect everything to revolve around you. It was the first time he'd been openly hostile. The first time the resentment had come out uncovered. We had a fight. A real one. Voices raised, old grievances aired, things said that couldn't be unsaid. He accused me of choosing my career over our marriage. Of caring more about strangers in refugee camps than about my own husband. Of being selfish and self-centered and incapable of real intimacy. I accused him of being unsupportive. Of resenting my success. Of wanting me to be smaller so he could feel bigger. We both said things we regretted. Or at least, I regretted them. I'm not sure he did. The fight ended with exhaustion, not resolution. We apologized for the harsh words but not for the feelings underneath them. The rest of my leave was tense. We were polite to each other, careful, like diplomats from opposing nations forced to share space. When I left to go back to Jordan, our goodbye at the airport was awkward. A brief hug, a quick kiss, vague promises to talk soon. I cried on the plane. Not because I was sad to leave him, but because I realized I was relieved. Life in the desert. My work in northern Jordan was demanding but structured, and structure has always been my comfort zone. Days started early, before dawn when the desert was still cool and the light was soft and golden. I'd review overnight reports from other time zones. Check supply inventories across multiple warehouses. Coordinate with local partners and government officials who controlled access to border crossings. I worked with a team of 15 people from 7 different countries. We coordinated convoys carrying food, water, medical supplies, shelter materials, everything necessary to keep refugee camps functioning. Thousands of people depended on us getting it right. The work was complex, like conducting an orchestra where every instrument was in a different country and half of them were broken. Roads that existed on maps but not in reality. Customs regulations that changed without notice. Security situations that could shift in hours. Weather that could shut down entire regions. I was good at it. Really good. I could see patterns, anticipate problems, develop backup plans for backup plans. My supervisors noticed. I got additional responsibilities, higher security clearances, invitations to planning meetings usually reserved for more senior staff. The compound where we lived was basic but functional. Small private rooms with a bed, desk, and bathroom. Shared common spaces with satellite internet and a small kitchen. A generator that ran constantly, humming like a mechanical heartbeat. At night, when the compound finally quieted down and the temperature dropped to something almost comfortable, I'd sit outside on a plastic chair near my housing unit. The stars in the desert were extraordinary, undimmed by city lights, so thick they looked like clouds of light. I'd think about home. About Marcus. About the house we'd bought in Denver just before this deployment. A modest craftsman bungalow with a front porch and a small backyard. We'd talked about it being our forever home. The place we'd build our real life together once my overseas work was done. I wondered if we'd ever actually live in it together. If there was anything left to build. I suspected there wasn't. The discovery. 2 days after that forwarded email, after I'd processed the initial shock and forced myself back into work routines, I logged into our shared financial dashboard. I'd set up this system years ago. All our accounts linked to one portal so we could see everything at a glance. Checking, savings, investments, credit cards, loans. Complete transparency. Complete partnership. Or so I'd thought. I'd always managed our finances. Not because Marcus couldn't handle it, but because I genuinely enjoyed it. I found comfort in numbers, in tracking our progress toward goals, in seeing our stability reflected in spreadsheets and account balances. That's when I noticed something was wrong. Withdrawals. Transfers. New accounts I didn't recognize. Transactions that didn't make sense. At first, the amount seemed small. A few hundred here and there, moved to accounts labeled with vague names I couldn't immediately place. I assumed they were legitimate, maybe new savings vehicles Marcus had opened, or investments he was managing. Then I looked closer. Then I went back further. Then I pulled up detailed transaction histories. I spent the next 3 hours going through every transaction from the past 5 months, cross-referencing statements, tracking money flows. My training kicked in, the same analytical skills I used to manage complex supply chains in war zones. Follow the money. Trace the patterns. Find the gaps. By the time I finished, my hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness. From fury. Over $190,000 had been moved. Our savings accounts, built carefully over years. Investment accounts I'd managed meticulously. Even a line of credit against our house in Denver. Money borrowed against equity without my knowledge or consent. $190,000. Nearly everything we had. The house was in my name only because the mortgage was tied to my international employment contract. Marcus wasn't on the deed. We'd agreed to that arrangement because it simplified the loan process given my unconventional work situation. Banks get nervous about lending to people who work in war zones. Having everything in my name made the paperwork easier. I'd thought I was protecting us. Making things simple. Instead, I'd protected myself. Without even realizing it. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly, deliberately, the way I did when managing stress in the field. Here's what Marcus didn't know. I'd been preparing for something like this my entire life. My mother's story. I need to tell you about my mother, because her story is the reason I survived mine. I was 12 when my parents divorced. Up until that point, my childhood had been comfortable. Nice house, good schools, family vacations. My father was a commercial real estate developer. My mother was a stay-at-home mom who managed the household. They'd been married 18 years when my father announced he wanted a divorce. He was calm about it. Matter of fact. Like he was discussing a business decision, not destroying a family. My mother was devastated. She'd trusted him completely. She'd believed in their partnership. She'd never questioned the finances, never looked at accounts, never asked where money was going. My father handled all of that. She handled the home and the kids. She found out during the divorce that my father had been planning his exit for years. He'd hidden assets, transferred property to shell companies, manipulated financial records, moved money offshore, created a paper trail that made it look like he had far less than he actually did. By the time the divorce was final, my mother got almost nothing. The house had to be sold. Most of the proceeds went to paying off debts she didn't know existed. The settlement was a fraction of what should have been hers. We moved 7 times in 3 years, always to smaller, cheaper places. From a 4-bedroom house in a good neighborhood to a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough area. Then to a 1-bedroom where I slept on the couch. Then to a studio where we shared the space with a curtain dividing it. My mother worked 3 jobs. Retail during the day, waitressing at night, cleaning offices on weekends. I wore second-hand clothes. I learned to make meals from whatever was on sale. I understood very young that financial stability was temporary and trust was dangerous. My mother had trusted completely. She'd believed that love meant not questioning, not verifying, not protecting yourself. She'd believed that partnership meant giving someone else complete control. I learned a different lesson. I learned that trust and preparation aren't opposites. That loving someone doesn't require making yourself vulnerable to destruction. That you can care deeply about someone while still protecting yourself. So I'd protected myself with Marcus. Not because I expected him to betray me, but because I'd learned that unexpected things happen. And smart people prepare. The real problem. I didn't confront Marcus immediately about the money. That would have been emotional, reactive, and strategically foolish. Confrontation would put him on alert, make him defensive, possibly cause him to accelerate whatever he was planning. Instead, I documented everything. Every transfer. Every timestamp. Every account number. Every receiving institution. I created detailed spreadsheets. I took screenshots. I archived emails. I built a timeline. That's when I noticed the bigger problem. The thing that transformed this from a marriage falling apart into something more serious. Several documents in our shared financial portal had been digitally signed by me. Property transfer authorizations. Loan applications. Account closure forms. Documents that gave Marcus access to money and assets in my name. Except I hadn't signed anything. I'd been in Jordan, 7,000 miles away, focused on work. I hadn't touched our financial accounts except to check balances. I examined the signatures closely, zooming in on my laptop screen until I could see individual pixels. They were nearly perfect. Nearly. But the stroke pattern was slightly off, too uniform, too smooth. Real signatures have tiny variations, subtle imperfections. These didn't. The authentication timestamps didn't match my location or device identifiers. The security system showed these documents were signed from an IP address in Denver, while I was logged in from Jordan using a completely different device. Someone had practiced my signature. Had studied it carefully enough to reproduce it convincingly. Had forged legal documents to steal my money. That realization settled into my chest like a physical weight, heavy and cold. This wasn't just a marriage ending badly with hurt feelings and poor communication. This wasn't even just financial infidelity or mismanagement. This was fraud. This was forgery. This was criminal. I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking, planning, my mind working through scenarios, possibilities, strategies. Then I reached out to someone I trusted. Enter Elena. Elena Vargas and I had worked together 6 years ago in Sudan during a crisis situation. A contractor had been diverting humanitarian supplies meant for a refugee camp, selling them on the black market instead. Thousands of people were going without food and medicine while someone profited. Elena had been the compliance officer brought in to investigate. She'd uncovered the scheme through meticulous analysis of shipping records, invoices, and delivery confirmations. She'd built the case methodically, had remained calm and professional while everyone else panicked. I'd watched her work and been impressed by her precision, her patience, her absolute refusal to let emotion override strategy. She'd left humanitarian work shortly after that to become an attorney specializing in international fraud and asset protection. She understood how money moved across borders, how people hid assets, how to trace deliberately obscured transactions. She'd built a reputation as someone who could find money anywhere. I sent her an encrypted message through a secure channel we'd used before. Brief explanation, request for a secure video call, mention that this was urgent. Her reply came within an hour despite the time difference. Setting up secure line. We'll call in 30 minutes. In the meantime, do not contact your husband. Do not alert anyone. Do not change anything. Let him continue. We need him to think he's succeeding. 30 minutes later, my laptop chimed with an incoming call. Elena's face appeared on screen. She looked the same. Sharp eyes, serious expression, no-nonsense demeanor. Tell me everything, she said. I did. The email. The transfers. The forged signatures. Everything I'd found. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad I could see at the edge of her camera frame. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. This is good, she finally said. Good. He's committed multiple federal crimes. Bank fraud, wire fraud, forgery, identity theft. And he's left a clear trail because he thinks you don't know. That gives us everything we need. What do I do? You continue exactly as you have been. You document everything, but you don't confront him. You don't let him know you're aware. Every day he continues gives us more evidence. More rope to hang himself with. How long? Until your rotation ends. Until you can come back to the States and we can move quickly. I'll start building the case from my end. When you come home, we'll have everything ready. Okay, I said. Sasha. Elena's voice softened slightly. I'm sorry this is happening. But you did the right thing by protecting yourself. A lot of people wouldn't have. My mother taught me well, I said. Then she's the reason we're going to win. Building the case. For the next 3 weeks, I lived a perfect double life. During the day, I maintained complete normalcy. I went to work every morning at 6. I ran convoys through dusty border routes, coordinating with armed escorts and local officials. I filed detailed reports, attended planning meetings, solved problems as they arose. I worked long hours because the work demanded it. Supply chains don't care about personal crises. Families in refugee camps don't care that your husband is stealing from you. They need food and water and medicine, and that's what I made sure they got. I had video calls with Marcus twice a week, our usual schedule. I smiled. I asked about his day. I told him about mine, carefully editing out anything that would suggest I knew. I said I loved him. I asked how the house was. He was good at lying. Calm. Natural. Convincing. He told me about his job, about seeing friends, about handling things at home. He asked when I'd be back. He said he missed me. I believed none of it. And every night, after everyone else in the compound had gone to sleep, I quietly gathered evidence. Bank statements going back 3 years. Screenshots of every activity log from every account. Archived emails and text messages. Any communication that referenced finances or property. Location data from my phone and laptop proving I couldn't have been in Denver signing documents. Security logs showing when I'd accessed accounts and from where. I created detailed spreadsheets tracking every fraudulent transaction. Date, amount, source account, destination account, forged authorization. I color-coded by type of crime. I cross-referenced with my travel records and work schedules to prove my alibis. I was thorough. Obsessive, even. But that's how you win. Emotion gets you nowhere. Evidence gets you everything. Elena worked in parallel, conducting her own investigation. She had access to tools and databases I didn't. She traced the movement of funds, identified receiving accounts, researched the people and entities involved. She pulled public records, searched for patterns, connected dots. She called me on the secure line 5 days into her investigation. Sasha, I need to tell you something. It's worse than we thought. My stomach dropped. How much worse? Your husband hasn't just been moving money. He's been trying to sell your house. What we found. The house. My house. The Craftsman bungalow in Denver we'd bought just before this deployment. The place I'd thought would be our forever home. Marcus was trying to sell it. Fast, below market value, through a quiet listing that wouldn't show up on normal real estate platforms. He's working with a broker named Claire Richardson, Elena explained. She's connected to a holding company called Horizon Property Solutions. They specialize in quick sales, cash transactions, minimal paperwork. That's legal though, right? Even if he's doing it without telling me? It would be, except the house is solely in your name. He has no legal right to sell it. So he's been forging documents to make it look like you're authorizing the sale. Jesus! There's more. Claire Richardson has a history. I pulled her license records, complaints filed against her, lawsuits, settlements. She's done this before. Multiple times. Elena shared her screen with me. I saw records of transactions. Quick sales of properties owned by people who were overseas, deployed, unavailable. Urgent listings with compressed timelines. Sales that closed before the actual owner could object. Complaints from a military spouse whose house was sold while he was in Afghanistan. A diplomat's property sold during a 2-year assignment in Africa. A contractor's home sold while she was working in Iraq. Pattern after pattern after pattern. People like Claire have networks, Elena said. They find each other. Spouses looking to cash out, brokers willing to bend rules, buyers willing to close fast and ask questions later. How did Marcus find her? He went looking. This wasn't accidental. He searched for someone who could help him do this, and he found exactly the right person. I felt sick. There's one more thing, Elena said. I was able to access your home security system remotely. The cameras you installed before you left. I'd forgotten about those. Marcus hasn't. Or he has, which is even better for us. She sent me video files. I opened them and my stomach turned. The security footage. The first video was dated 3 weeks ago. Marcus and Claire walking through my living room. She was pointing at things, taking notes. He was nodding, agreeing. I turned up the volume. If we stage it right, we can list it 15% below market and still clear $300,000, Claire was saying. Cash buyers will jump on it. How fast can we move? Marcus asked. 2 weeks to get it staged. Another week to find a buyer. 3 weeks to close if we find the right one. You could have the money in your account in less than 2 months. She's not back for 3 months. Then we have plenty of time. She won't even know until it's done. They laughed. Actually laughed. The second video showed them in the kitchen. Claire was suggesting paint colors. Marcus was agreeing enthusiastically, talking about how the space could look more modern. New countertops would help, Claire said. But we don't have time for renovations. We'll work with what we have. Whatever gets it sold fastest, Marcus said. The third video showed them sitting on my couch, looking at something on a tablet. Property comps, probably. Market analysis. Pricing strategies. Claire pointed at the screen. This one sold in 10 days. Similar square footage. Similar neighborhood. If we price aggressively and find a cash buyer, we can beat that. Perfect, Marcus said. Let's do it. They looked comfortable. Relaxed. Like they'd done this before. Like this was normal. I watched these videos in my quarters, headphones on so no one would hear. And something shifted inside me. Not anger. Anger is hot and reactive and makes you stupid. This was colder. More focused. More dangerous. Determination. I forwarded the videos to Elena. Her response came immediately. This is everything we need. He just handed us a criminal case on a silver platter. The trap closes. Elena moved quickly once she had everything she needed. She contacted the bank holding our primary accounts. She presented evidence of forged signatures, unauthorized transactions, documents that couldn't possibly have been signed by me given my location and the digital forensics. The bank's fraud department reviewed everything. Then they froze the accounts. All of them. $190,000. Stopped mid-transfer. Elena contacted the real estate board. She flagged the property listing. She provided evidence that the seller had no legal authority to sell the property. Claire Richardson received a formal inquiry about the transaction. The forged signatures on financial documents triggered an internal bank investigation. Banks take fraud very seriously. It's not just about one customer. It's about the integrity of their entire system. Then, because of my employment status with an international humanitarian organization and the cross-border nature of some transactions, federal authorities got involved. The Secret Service has jurisdiction over financial fraud and identity theft. Elena had a contact there from a previous case. She presented the evidence package we'd built. They opened an investigation immediately. Marcus had no idea what was happening. His carefully constructed plan was collapsing in real time, and he was still operating like everything was fine. His phone started ringing with numbers he didn't recognize. Bank security, fraud investigation, real estate board, then federal agents. Accounts got frozen. Credit cards stopped working. The property listing disappeared from all platforms. Claire stopped returning his calls. Horizon Property Solutions went dark. Doors he thought were open suddenly slammed shut. And nobody was answering his increasingly frantic questions about what was going on. I know all this because Elena kept me updated with daily secure messages. She told me about each domino falling, each wall closing in. I was still in Jordan, still 7,000 miles away, still going to work every day like nothing was happening. But everything was happening. The phone call. I flew home quietly 2 weeks later when my rotation ended. I didn't tell Marcus I was coming. I didn't post on social media. I didn't go to the house. I checked into a small anonymous hotel near Denver International Airport and slept for 12 hours straight. When I woke, I felt clearer than I had in months. The fog of betrayal and shock had lifted, replaced by something sharper, more focused. The next morning, I met Elena at her office downtown. She had everything prepared, organized into neat folders with color-coded tabs. Evidence packages for the bank, the real estate board, the federal investigators. They want to meet with you tomorrow, she said. The Secret Service. They have questions about timeline, about your access to accounts, about your communications with Marcus. Okay. They're building a case. They think they can get him on multiple charges. Bank fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, forgery. He's looking at serious time if it goes to trial. Will it? Probably not. They'll offer him a deal. Full restitution, asset forfeiture, permanent record. He'll take it because the alternative is federal prison. That's when my phone rang. Marcus. First time he'd called in 3 days. I looked at Elena. She nodded. I let it go to voicemail. We sat in silence while my phone buzzed on her desk. Then it stopped. A moment later, it chimed with a voicemail notification. Do you want to listen? Elena asked. Not particularly. But I should. I put it on speaker. Marcus's voice filled the room. Panicked, desperate. Nothing like the calm, confident man I'd married. Sasha, please. I don't understand what's happening. The bank froze everything. They're saying something about fraud? About forged documents? This is crazy. There must be some mistake. My lawyer says federal investigators are involved. I don't understand. Please call me back. Please. We need to talk. Please. His voice broke on that last please. Elena watched my face for reaction. I felt nothing. Just cold calculation. Delete it, I said. She reached over and tapped my phone. Done. What now? Now we wait for them to offer him the deal. Then we finalize the divorce. Then you get your life back. Just like that.